yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. I want you to take over control. Take over control. Take over control. I want you to take over control. Plug it in and turn me on. You know something? I tend to like some stuff from the past, as well as the present time. In short, I like nostalgic and modern stuff in their own way. I came to learn that lesson recently after watching a series of videos containing people speaking about how some stuff in the past decade weren't as bad as they thought it would be back then. I used to be the jackass where I talk shit about the last decade, the 2000s, and praised the 90s as it was the fucking shit and whatnot, when in reality, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Nope, decade is perfect. Period. They all have their flaws, its pros and cons, stuff like that. For example, say the 1930s. They had, say, decent horror films, yet the Great Depression was knocking society down. Or how the 1980s had toys or cartoons and whatnot. We had to deal with the AIDS epidemic and the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. Or how about the 90s? They had some stuff I enjoyed, like 16-bit video games or television shows. Yet, bad shit happened there. Such as the LA riots or the Midwestern U.S. heat wave in 1995, where about over 700 people died in Chicago alone. The point I'm trying to make here is that our childhood wasn't as great as we thought it was. And the reason alone is because we were kids back then. Okay, let's say we now have kids born in the 2000s. And they grow up to be preteens or teenagers today, as an example. They're going to say the same thing as some people are going to act. They're going to say how stuff in the 2000s were so awesome and talk about how today sucks for no reason. And that is what I'm going to be ranting about today, folks. Those people. I can't stand nostalgic fanboys, or as I like to call them, Nostalgiatards. That's one of the things I see on the internet all the time, and that really annoys me. I can't click on an old commercial without reading a comment that states, "Everything today sucks. I miss the 90s." Shut the hell up. Seriously. They tend to think that everything from the 2000s sucks. Same with the 2010s. And that everything from the 90s and before was great. Let's take the 1950s, for example. People would praise the living crap out of the 1950s, yet there were some significant flaws with that decade. Let me name a couple of them for you. There was segregation, McCarthyism, etc. Another thing these nostalgiatards need to realize is that, say, television networks can't just take off all the new shows and replace them with the older shows, because that would be a really stupid move for them to do financial-wise. The way networks make money is by making some fresh new shows, and so they would have to make off some of their older shows to make room. Despite what some of us here might think, there's not really a huge market for retro stuff on TV since there's a rise of DVD releases. What really takes me off as well is when a lot of nostalgiatards make nasty assumptions about how today's kids might end up when they go through the life stages they're currently going through. That just makes me throw up. Like, who the heck are they to tell these poor kids, what they should watch and whatnot? Granted, I don't like Justin Bieber that much, but I'm not gonna tell people, if you like Justin Bieber, you're a freaking retard. That's not how I roll. I just don't get why people take nostalgia so seriously. Granted, it's okay to be nostalgic, but let me ask you, is it really necessary to say that everything sucks now? No, it's not true. There are good TV shows, there's still good music, there are still good video games, etc. nowadays. It's just that people only look at reality shows, music on the radio, etc., instead of the good stuff. And speaking about the 2000s, I look back to the 2000s, and I actually don't think that decade was as bad as many people say it is. For example, I used to hate 2000 music. All the sole reason that gangster rap was shit. That was it. Despite that, though, I do enjoy listening to songs from the 2000s. Same with this decade. I actually, lived a decent life throughout this decade, and I'm looking forward to see what's over the horizon for the 2010s. And you know what's really freaking funny? I'm pretty sure that our parents didn't like the shows we watched when they were kids, and they missed the shows from their childhoods, or the music, whatever. Heck, some parents today claim that the 60s, for example, were the best, even though bad shit happened back then. And despite that fact, they actually think that the world is getting worse, when in reality it isn't. And you know what's really funny when people bring up, oh, everything sucks nowadays, yet at the same time, stuff like AIDS is actually treatable, and that LGBT rights are getting widely accepted. Heck, even New York recently passed the legislation of same-sex marriages being, legal and shit. So you tell me how everything is getting worse nowadays. Sure, you may say, the economy is getting better, oh my god. People, we've been through recession multiple times. Heck, multiple countries been through recessions a lot. So this kind of shit is common in the economic world. I mean, hey, look at the 1970s recession, which lasted from 1973 to 75. There was high unemployment, which coincided with high inflation. And you know what's really funny? There's actually official data where it shows a modest recovery. Yet at the same time, you have more than half of the U.S. citizens thinking that this country is still in recession, or even to the point of depression. Here's a fact. If things stay this way they were, there would be no room to improve upon and evolve them. For example, I like playing today's video games, but that doesn't mean that I hate or turn my back on the games of the past decades. I grew up playing NES games and Super Nintendo games. So, Nostalgiatards have nothing to say to me. But, they probably will anyway. Even though I respect, your opinions on what you like and what I like, bashing people who like stuff in the current decade is going a little too far. It's forceful and it's belligerent. It's not right. And there's nothing wrong with liking stuff from this decade and other decades. For example, I tend to listen to some modern music, but I also like enjoying listening to music from, say, the 90s. Just because I prefer 80s and 90s video games and movies or whatever doesn't mean that they're better than the new stuff nowadays. Everyone is always going to love the things that one person saw when he was growing up, because they connect this strong feeling to it. So, to put it short, if you like old stuff, good for you. Same with modern stuff, good for you. Or hell, even both, that's perfectly fine. I just hate it when these retards are so forceful and belligerent about it. And thank God I am not like that anymore. Other than that, I honestly have nothing else to say. Or heck, even MTV, for example. Even though I don't like what MTV's doing, I can still go to their website via internet and look at their music videos. I mean, heck, back then you had to sit through some music videos that people like and some people don't like, when you could look up the music videos on your own will with a simple click. Simple. Other than the additional comments I just made, I really have nothing else to say. This is T4 saying have a nice day, everybody.